we have a bar mitzvah today. This is a very exciting thing. So I was speaking with a family, of course, many times before today, and the question came up of what does it actually mean to become a bar mitzvah? What does it mean to become a bar mitzvah? And so I thought about what the answer was, and I think the answer is something like this. Have you ever heard the phrase, 2 Jews, 3 opinions? See, it's very Jewish to answer a question by asking another question. But seriously, there are multiple answers to this question of what it means to become a bar mitzvah. So in my research, the first thing that I stumbled upon, which I was actually pretty surprised to find, was a dictionary definition from Merriam-Webster, a dictionary definition of bar mitzvah. This is how I learned that bar mitzvah is both a noun and a verb. So the verb used apparently is a transitive verb, to administer the ceremony of bar mitzvah to. So like I am bar mitzvahing Jordan is the use of this term, but it's mostly a noun. Often the B and the M in bar and mitzvah are capitalized, and it refers to a Jewish boy who reaches his 13th birthday and attains the age of religious duty and responsibility. It also refers to the initiatory ceremony recognizing a boy as a bar mitzvah. Okay, well, so reading this definition, thinking about it, this is technically correct, but what does it really mean? And specifically, what does it mean to attain religious duty and responsibility? So I continued my research. I found another source from reformjudaism.org that speaks to the history and the evolution of this life cycle event. And it says, cultures around the world celebrate rituals that honor children as they come of age, and Judaism is no exception. This ceremony was originally created as a way to mark the transition from childhood to Jewish adulthood and the obligations and responsibilities that came with it. Since then, the concept of becoming a bar mitzvah and having a bar mitzvah ceremony has grown and evolved. Now, the ceremony is not a performance. It's a chance for the person becoming bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah to use what they have learned to formally take their place as a teacher and leader within the community and among the Jewish people. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience representing a symbolic entryway into greater learning in the adult Jewish community. It's a time of beginning a new stage in one's Jewish life and was never intended to be an end to an education or an end to involvement. It's instead meant to celebrate the beginning of one's adult Jewish journey. Okay, so it's a culmination in one stage of learning. It's the beginning of a new stage. But what about one's age? What about this transition from childhood to adulthood? So continuing my research, I found this source from the Second Jewish Catalog. I found it on My Jewish Learning, but the Second Jewish Catalog is a very well-known guide to Jewish living. And it makes the point that one is a full-fledged member of the Jewish community, able to participate in all aspects of religious expression and existence, even if one has never had this ceremony, even if one has never had a bar or bat mitzvah celebration. All that's necessary is that you have to be 13 years old. The ceremony, which is of fairly recent origin, does not make one a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. It marks the time instead when a person becomes a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, a son or a daughter of the commandments, literally. Now, the real meaning of the phrase, it concludes, is not son or daughter of the commandments, but a person of the commandments in the sense of one who's responsible for performing the commandments. Okay, so another correct answer. We've got our third correct answer so far, and we have one more because this answer talks about you just need the life experience. When you turn 13, that's it. You don't really need a ceremony. Then why are we doing this? Why is this ceremony not just a thing for us today in our community and in the Fisher family, but throughout the Jewish people? So, bring our last source of the morning. I found this from chabadofportwashington.org, and here's what it says. The bar and bat mitzvah is the moment in the Jewish life cycle that most deeply defines who Jews are as a people. The bat and bar mitzvah ceremony celebrates the link in an unbroken chain of thousands of years of Jewish tradition. So this is dramatic, huh? This is dramatic and explains why this is a thing, why this ceremony today is important. So we're talking about the link in an unbroken chain of thousands of years of Jewish tradition. So this link in the chain metaphor, it's about linking something with something else. So what this means is the meaning of bar mitzvah is twofold. It's about the celebrant, the new Jewish adult, and it's also about the parents and the grandparents and the rest of the family and the community. So when they say this ceremony most deeply defines who Jews are as a people, it celebrates the link in this unbroken chain, what exactly is it getting at? Well, I'll have us remember from earlier in our service, we read the Shema, the first paragraph of the Shema. We say, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day, and impress them upon your children. Teach them to your children. This instruction is given in the first paragraph of the Shema, the most important prayer in all of Jewish tradition. And so this is the essence of Jewish peoplehood and Jewish life, to create the next link in the chain, to teach the ways of being Jewish to our children. Now here's the thing. Teaching Torah to your children is a time-sensitive responsibility. Kids don't stay kids forever. Kids become adults. And so bar mitzvah is a celebration of parents' success in educating their children. And in order for the chain to continue, we need a new link. Thus, the child, becoming an adult, must assume responsibility. So this display of learning demonstrates two things at the same time: the parent's success and the child becoming the new adult and taking responsibility. So here's another interesting part. This means that the parents let go of responsibility. There's a very little known but very traditional blessing that parents sometimes say in certain communities when their child becomes bar or bat mitzvah, and it goes like this: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sheptarani me'onsho shel zeh. Anyone heard of this before? Okay, we've heard of this before. Okay, so the most recent translation in our movement, the conservative movement, goes like this: Blessed are you, Lord our God, Master of the universe, for relieving me of this spiritual responsibility. Now, that's a very interesting translation, because what it actually means is, thank you, God, for relieving me of the punishment that I would have received when my child made a mistake. Meaning that if you have a child who's under the age of bar mitzvah and they eat a cheeseburger, that's your responsibility. But once the child has become bar bat mitzvah, they choose to eat the cheeseburger, that's on them. So this responsibility is transferred from the parents to the young adult, and this transfer is a one-time thing. There is no going back. And this is why ReformedJudaism.org makes the point that becoming a b'nai mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, or a bar mitzvah is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It represents a shifting in responsibility in a family as the family grows up and gets older. Because I think all of us know, we're not getting any younger, right? Aging is one direction only. We only get older. So we can't go back. So the question is, what now? Here we are today. We are celebrating and marking that the transfer has happened. So does this mean that it's over? Does this mean, okay, Jordan, now it's time for you to take more classes, go to Hebrew High? Wait, do we have LA Hebrew High? AJU has this program, college credit. What? Okay, so more learning is great. ReformedJudaism.org makes that point that continued learning is definitely an important part of being Jewish, but I think that's only part of the point. So I want to take us back to this source, the Chabad of Port Washington explanation of what it means to become a bat or a bar mitzvah. And it continues and it says this: when a child reaches the age of bat and bar mitzvah, she or he assumes a greater maturity in his or her connection to Torah and mitzvot, to their own Jewish identity, to the Jewish people as a whole, and to God. Our sages teach that at the age of 13, young people are endowed with a greater capacity for both seeking to do good in the world and seeking selfish pursuits. So this age marks the young adult's arrival at the crossroads of moral and spiritual decision-making, that is engaged in by mature adults. As a community, we celebrate the bat and bar mitzvah in order to help our young adults become aware of and draw meaning from this significant transition in their lives. So, rephrasing this in words that my mom has used many times, bigger kids, bigger problems. So the new young adult has arrived at the crossroads of moral and spiritual decision-making that is engaged in by mature adults. So when we put it that way, when we understand it that way, we know that this is definitely not a time to stop learning. This is definitely not a time to stop parenting or grandparenting or aunt or uncling. All these different forms of support are important when one's at a moral and spiritual crossroads. The whole family has leveled up. The whole family has a new focus. Because up to now, the focus was on the basics, the fundamentals of Jewish education. But now it's about this moral and spiritual crossroads. This is what happens when you become an adult. Now your family gets to navigate this crossroads together. Please keep learning. Please keep teaching. Please keep seeking support from your community here at Adat Shalom, from your community throughout the world, and from all of your friends and family. This is a time and this is a day to celebrate your success, but recognize you can't really rest on your laurels just because that's not how life works. Today we celebrate that you as a family, as an individual, and with support of your Adat Shalom community are prepared for this moral and spiritual crossroads. You are prepared for this next level. Mazal Tov and Shabbat Shalom.